commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience. Visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
All right, 49 after. Nathan in Columbus, Ohio.
Hey, Randy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm actually a Democrat, so I voted Democrat, like I'm about mid-30s. I voted Democrat for Obama in 2008 and 2012. This year I'm going to vote Trump. And
why?
I'm registered Democrat. I'm changing my registration to independent this year. The reason I'll list out the reasons for me as a voter why I'm voting for Trump.
Okay.
I'm a high income person. I earn in the high six figures, and I have a master's degree. I'm not a so-called fringe of society or anything, but I'm also a minority. The reason I'm voting for Trump is pretty simple for me. One is that I've seen Hillary since I was a teenager because Bill Clinton was in the White House when I was a teenager growing up in Detroit, and I find some things about Hillary that are pretty disturbing. Like, there are some things, first of all, is, small instances where Hillary lies, like, when she went to Serbia, she said she was under gunfire, and then she was giving flowers to kids. And then, that kind of, shows up in her email answers, the answers she gives about the emails. I don't care about the emails. I care about honesty, not about the emails.
Well, how can you vote for Trump? He's a world heavyweight champion liar.
I'll explain why I would vote for Trump. So, I also explain some policies that make me uncomfortable with Hillary being a Democrat, right? First is NAFTA. I grew up in Michigan.
Well, she didn't vote for NAFTA, and Bill Clinton didn't write it. That was written by a Republican, George Herbert Walker Bush.
Yeah, I agree with that, but there's a press conference where Hillary was touting NAFTA, and I'm not exactly talking about NAFTA. She was Secretary of State when they negotiated the TPP.
And she's against TPP.
Right, but she was on Bloomberg on 2014. I remember watching hearing the radio show on Sirius XM where she was on Bloomberg, and she was telling the host how important it is for the United States to pass TPP. Now,
you got to agree that trade, since the Silk Road is important to a country's, expansion. It's important to the country's finances. It's important to GDP. It's important to a country's well-being. But if TPP was, anything but a secret deal, I think maybe more people would be for it. It's just that the way this is like when John Kerry said he was for a bill that was $87 million worth of a bill. And he said he was for it. And then they changed it. And then he said, well, now I'm not for it. So they said, he flip-flopped. He was for the $87 million before he was against it. There could be something in TPP that has changed that made her say it was the gold standard. It's not any longer. You ever think of that?
Yeah, so...
Okay, and meanwhile, Trump lies about, he lies depending on who he's talking to. He's talking to a black audience. He says he cares about, people being shot by police. And then he goes on Sean Hannity, and for the white audience, he says he's for the unconstitutional, ill-affected, poorly, it doesn't have any good effect, stop and frisk policy. So, I mean, you say that it's the lying that gets you. Okay, I get that. I really do get that. Politicians lie. They do, and I'm shocked, and we should alert the media that politicians lie. But Donald Trump is not a politician, and he lies. He's a fraud. He has scammed people out of their money. He has settled lawsuits with his charity. His charity takes other people's money, and he puts his name on the donation as if he was the person that gave the money. He said he gave to the veterans. He didn't. He says that he was for getting rid of Muammar Gaddafi. Now he says he was against it. He says that, he says a lot of stuff. So, and none of it is true, or it's true. None of it is true.
I'll tell you something real quick. All right. So I get all the points, right? I watch the news 24/7.
So tell me why you're voting for him.
Exactly. So for me, the things are NAFTA. Okay.
It's money. You told me. It's so funny when someone shows you who they are. Believe them the first time. And the first thing you said was you make high six figures.
Yes.
And that's why you're voting for him.
No, it's not for that.
It is for that.
No, I'll explain one more thing. I'll just say one more thing, right? I work for a bank, but I'm also against banks. Like, I watched Elizabeth Warren.
You're very conflicted. You don't like liars, but you vote for the biggest liar that's ever come down the pike. Okay, you work for a bank, but you think Elizabeth Warren has a point about breaking up the banks. Donald Trump is never going to break up the banks. Donald Trump is never going to go after Wells Fargo. Okay, he's not going to do any of these things.
I want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Okay, there's this big donors from the GOP, like Meg Whitman, right? She was HP CEO, outsourced a bunch of jobs. There's also a lot of other donors for like Jeb Bush donors and Mitt Romney donors. Why are they now supporting Hillary and not Trump?
Because Trump is a lunatic. There's something wrong.
And why are all the banks giving money?
The reason why sober people are supporting Hillary Clinton,
are the banks sober now?
Even though they disagree with her positions, is because they cannot in good conscience vote for somebody who is patently insane. And Donald Trump is a lunatic. He's not trustworthy. The intelligence community has said that he is the biggest threat to national and global security. Now, what a president does is foreign policy. Congress makes the law. That's just a fact. The judiciary it's 4-4 right now, and who we put there is going to affect everything from how much money goes into politics to what big pharma can do, with their prices. It has everything to do with stop and frisk, whether it's going to be considered a constitutional way to proceed with this country, with show us your papers, or it is unconstitutional. So the next 50 years are going to be decided by the next president. Donald Trump is not your guy, okay? And you're going to be really sorry.
I did vote for Bernie in the primaries, right? And the fact
Donald
that
Trump is not your guy. I'm trying to be really patient with you, and I'm trying to get you to understand that you're voting for lower taxes and nothing else. And you are supporting. Well, listen. You're supporting somebody who promotes racism, bigotry, hatred.
I'm not saying Trump is perfect. Let me ask you a couple
listen, we're not talking perfection. We're talking about somebody who is a bigot and a racist, and anyone who supports him is enabling bigotry and racism.
I'm a minority, by the way.
Well, then you must be self-loathing, or you must love your money more than you love your heritage, because the truth is he promotes racism, bigotry, hatred of the other, all kinds of ideological tests, papers,
I'll tell you
please.
one thing that'll make me consider voting for Hillary. One thing that'll make me consider.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
The one thing that if she does that'll make me consider voting for her is if she releases her Wall Street speech transcripts. That's all I care
What about his taxes?
There's nothing in there that she promised the banks.
I agree with you on that. I would like to see them too. However, a speech to Wall Street is an opinion.
Not one, Randy. There's multiple.
No, I agree with you. I think that she should release the speeches to Wall Street. However, Donald Trump's taxes will tell you more about who he owes, who he's borrowed from, who he does business with, whether or not he can be put in charge of national security, or does he owe the Chinese? Does he owe the Russians? Will he, Donald Trump, if he is so conflicted with foreign business interests, he's got hotels all over the world. He's got hotels in Muslim nations. He's got, it's so funny, but the Trump hotel and the postal office that he just, somebody went there, paid $800 for a room. You know who works there? Afghans. The entire place is manned by Afghans. This man is so disingenuous, but I want to see his tax returns, not because I'm interested in how much money he gave or how much he gives to charity. I don't care. What I care about is he so indebted and in bed with the Chinese? He says he's got 150 deals that are currently in play. Who are they with? And listen, when I know that
So for me, Randy,
all the president does, though, I'm telling you, Nathan, the president only does foreign policy. That's what the president does.
No, let me say one last thing. All right, I'm just saying my concerns, right, as a voter. And
I understand.
I get your point of view. I know you're trying to give me all the talking points.
Listen,
the problem for me is I want the Democratic Party to change. I don't want to just keep electing Hillary Clinton's and always being told that the other person is
I get that.
XYZ.
I get
want
that.
the Democratic Party to elect Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. I want such leaders. So I don't want to vote.
I get that. But driving the country into a fascist ditch is not the answer.
I don't think Clinton was a Democrat progressive, right? He did a bunch of Republican policies.
I get everything you're
8
saying.
years we got nothing. What's the point of voting for him?
I get what you're saying. I hear you. I understand. You want bigger, badder, more FDR-like change. Me too. However, these are the two choices. And driving the country into a fascist ditch is certainly not the answer to get more progressive. It's not the answer to push the country
if Trump's such a bad
towards
guy,
towards more oversight, regulation, and transparency. It is exactly driving the country into a ditch. It's exactly a vote for fascism, bigotry, and ethnic hatred. It's exactly a vote for everything you and I detest.
I get your argument, Randy, but I'm not comfortable with Hillary. I do understand your argument.
Hey, I'm not asking you to be.
I'm pretty sure I'll come back to Democrat voting in this.
There won't be any coming back. There won't be any coming back.
But
It will be so far to the right. We will lose Congress for another 40 years and the Supreme Court. You will be very sorry. Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.